So I finally stopped being stubborn, sat down and watched the newest extended gameplay trailer of Dead Island 2. I've been incredibly reluctant to watch or hear anything related to this game. I don't really know why that is. I think if I had to explain any particular reason, I'm just at the point of where I would rather experience the game myself than watch a trailer. Of course, Dead Island 2's had an incredibly rocky development cycle ranging all the way back from an original release that was meant to be all the way back in April of 2015. It's been, what, 7 to 8 years since then, and this game has jumped from multiple development teams. So that aside, I think I'm just kind of over the whole gameplay trailers and presenting and the hype train and everyone getting excited. Forgive me for being a little pessimistic here, but my perspective is whenever it comes to a game, a movie, a TV show, we're always pretty much going to be catfished. You're always going to be shown the best, most exciting elements of that product because obviously you're trying to be sold on a fucking experience. So that's a given. It makes sense. That's the whole point of a trailer. That's the whole point of a marketing campaign behind these types of experiences. It's just, for me personally, maybe I'm just a little bit more negative than most people, regardless of what the trailer shows or not. It's just so damn difficult for me to really look on all the positives and be completely wholeheartedly sold on any of these games. I can't say whether if that's due to just playing so many games. I don't know if it's due in part to content creation, covering games, and trying not to sound like someone just blew me in the parking lot to sell a game on the development team's behalf, or maybe it's just knowing how this stuff works. And I can't even tell you how many games I've been burnt by in the past of getting suckered by a trailer or hearing a specific mechanic or feature or addition be something that was so trivial or nowhere near as exciting, groundbreaking, or impactful to the core gameplay loop as it was marketed to be. It's for that reason that I more often than not do stay away from gameplay trailers. Announcement trailers, developers talking about their game coming up, stuff like that, I do pay attention to because it's all news related. You still want to know what is going on with this actual game. The gameplay itself, I always just kind of shrug my shoulders at. But anyway, so I sat down, I finally took a look at the Dead Island 2 trailer, and I'm still strongly in the middle about it. Don't get me wrong, the best way to explain my outlook on this game is hands down, hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. I don't think it's going to be a horrible experience. Worst case scenario, I think it's going to be an incredibly mediocre one. Look, I equally hate myself for what I'm about to say next because people naturally like to compare things, especially when you're not in the loop about a particular product. If there's a reference point or something you can reference or liken it to in order to benefit someone else's knowledge and understanding about something, then you're going to reference something, and in this case, I'm going to be comparing it very loosely to Dying Light 2. Naturally so. I mean, Dying Light basically was born out of Dead Island due to similar developers, similar concepts in some way or another. But anyways, my initial mind was basically Dead Island 2 is trying to do one thing that I think is going to incredibly benefit itself, and that is when a game is well aware that it's a game and not taking itself so literal or trying to make it so realistic. The gameplay is bright, vibrant. You have mechanics that I think are going to be an insane amount of fun. You have stomp, dropkick, dodge. The gameplay shows grabbing and punching, throwing weapons, elemental effects return. The narrator points out revolutionary dismemberment mechanics called the flesh system. They point out zombies' flesh actually melting off of bones due to fire basically cooking his skin. At one point they show legs basically being mutilated off of a zombie due to some gunshots. And for me, when it comes to video games, you know, I love shooters, I love pretty much anything action related. If they put an insane amount of blood, gore, dismemberment in that game, then I'm all on board. I think it adds even more so when you're talking particularly about a zombie game because that's what it's all about. Flesh decaying, blood, gore, dismemberment, pulling people apart limb from limb. And we're not just talking about something that's all visual. It's nice to see the immaculate detail to the human anatomy and how the skeleton is rendered in the game underneath the zombie's flesh, but also you can actually affect the way a zombie moves, how it attacks you, how it attacks other people. It adds to the gameplay loop. You know, it's not just eye candy and the developers just showing off technology at this point. It's basically just allowing you to be a little creative and now have a little bit of extra fun on top of it. As far as what I've seen from the combat, I mean, I think combat really has to go based off of how you feel and how you get it personally in your hands. I think a good example of this is Gotham Knights. Visually, when it comes to watching videos, I think the combat doesn't look bad. You know, it's good. It's quote-unquote cinematic. It's entertaining. But when you're actually playing it, something about it feels a little off. And that makes a world difference because obviously you're not only controlling it, but it's something that you're actively constantly doing. So just watching this gameplay, the only thing I'm hoping isn't a nuisance or something that constantly interrupts like the flow of combat is how slow and quote-unquote cinematic some of these attacks look. I hope it's intentional and it's not something that just randomly happens or constantly happens, you know, where it looks very flashy but it's not that enjoying to play. But I'm really hoping that Dead Island 2 really jumps into that, where they just don't take anything about itself entirely seriously and they just let you have fun and do your own thing. I think that's where Dying Light 2, for me anyways, kind of fucked up, and they couldn't figure out whether if they wanted to go a little bit more bright and vibrant and a little bit more on the wacky side, where it embraced the fact fact that it's a video game, or if they wanted to go a little bit more serious. Dying Light 2 has a little bit of an identity crisis. If they could have went one way or the other and dedicated to it, it would have been a much more solid experience all around. And I'll leave the extended gameplay trailer link down below in case you guys want to take a look at it for yourself. It's been out for over 10 days at this point, but just going based off of watching the gameplay and hearing how the narrator spoke about skill cards and the fact that it enhances your abilities. I mean, the dodge that we see the player use is seen as a skill card, and it looks like we can interchange those whenever we want. So I'm assuming, very uneducated guess here, actually very little effort behind this guess here, but I'm assuming this whole skill card system is replacing the skill trees that we've seen in the original Dead Island, or even in games in general. But my point here being, with the fact that you can interchange these seemingly on the fly whenever you want, completely altering your build and how you play the game, it looks like they're already headed in that direction of it not taking itself seriously, and the developers really handing you control over how much fun you're allowed to really have with this game, which I'm all for. Ultimately, that's all Dead Island 2 has to get right. Stick to whatever creative vision they want to have for this game, and just make sure the gameplay loop is ultimately fun. I mean, you got 4-player co-op based in the most iconic locations across Southern California, and it's all about destroying hordes of zombies with the most insane modified weapons you can ever imagine having. Anyways, I just kind of wanted to talk about Dead Island 2. It's crazy to believe that almost 7 to 8 years, this thing is finally coming out. The release date is roughly 30 days away as of this recording, and I'm curious, have you been keeping up with Dead Island 2? Have you been keeping track of the gameplay, all the information, any thoughts, concerns, issues with this game? I mean, if they pull this off, not only is that going to be a miracle, but I'm personally a little curious with how much money Deep Silver has invested into this game. Video games are not cheap or quick to make, and considering this one has jumped through so many different development cycles, who knows how much has been scrapped, repurposed, rebuilt from the ground up, scrapped again, people fired, people hired to try and fix this, repair that, or replace this. The fact that they still saw a genuine profitable return in all this is a little crazy to me, to be honest with you, but I'm gonna shut the hell up now. Let me know what you think about Dead Island 2. Are you hyped for it? Are you excited for it? You have no hope? Are you kind of holding your breath, waiting to see what everyone says? Let's talk down in the comments section. But like always, guys, my name is Cynic. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, see y'all later.